Hi everyone. In this video we will learn the difference between distance and displacement. So we will learn what's the difference between distance and what's the difference between displacement. So the difference number 1 is that distance is the length of path traveled by a body. Displacement is the shortest distance, shortest distance between the initial position and the final position. So the difference number 1 says that if you are talking about distance, distance is the total length that a body has covered, whereas displacement is the minimum or shortest distance between the final position and the initial position. Now, difference number 2. Distance is a scalar quantity while displacement is a vector quantity. So before knowing about distance and displacement, we have to know about scalars and vectors. So scalar quantities are those quantities which are described only by magnitude. They do not need direction, whereas vector quantities are quantities that need direction as well as magnitude. So remember that distance is a scalar quantity, and if we want to represent distance, we will write it as d. But when we want to represent displacement, we will write d and we will put an arrow over it, just because this arrow shows that displacement is a vector quantity, and to represent vector quantities, we draw arrow. Now the difference number 3 is distance measured is always positive. Displacement can be positive or negative depending on the reference point. So always remember that you have never heard someone saying that I have traveled -3 meter or -5 kilometer, just because they have traveled distance, not displacement, and distance is always positive. Like someone will say that I have traveled 3 kilometer, so this 3 means 3 kilometer. This 3 mean a person has traveled +3, while displacement can be positive or negative. We can also say that there's a displacement of -3. -3 meter or kilometer, whatever. Now the difference number 4, the total distance covered is equal to the algebraic sum, sum of all the distance traveled in different directions. The net displacement is the vector sum of the individual displacements in different directions. Now remember that if you are talking about distance, it means that whatever in which direction, let the direction just because it's a scalar quantity, how much direction a person or a thing have covered, we have to sum all of them if we want to have the final distance. But in displacement, remember that we do not need to know that what is the path of or what's the road of the person or the thing that has traveled. We only have to know the final point and the initial point. Now the difference number 5 is that there is always a distance covered whenever there is a motion. Displacement will be 0 if the body comes back to initial position. Always remember that whenever a person has moved from its position, it means that it will cover some distance, any distance. It would be 2 kilometer, it will be 2 meter. But if a body has moved from its position, its initial position, this means that it has covered a distance. But in reverse, displacement, for example, if a thing have start from this point, it have moved some point and it have again come back to the same point, then the displacement will be 0. Now the last is that this is the similarity between both, that both are measured in meters. This also measured in meter.